picture of myself. There was meant to be two of us here this morning, so apologies first. Dorrit had an ear infection, so it wasn't possible to fly. I thought about asking her to drive, but it's a 20-hour drive from Dusseldorf, so as she's the customer, I thought it's better not to. So I will do my best. I'd like to start with a common phrase that is said, which is very applicable to our customer. I'm not sure who's familiar with C&A, but they are a very old business. They're actually 175 years old, a family retail fashion business. They have over 2,000 stores. They are $1 billion industry plus. So it has a big old culture that is not data-driven, which is a big challenge. They have hidden complexities, large amounts of data, which I'll go into. There is a view that data doesn't drive their business, it's just in the background. A big cultural belief that they cannot apply advanced analytics to drive better decision making. I'll expand on that somewhat. They have really, really big data. I mean, we use the phrase big data. With the program of work that we've got, we're looking at transactional data. We're looking at over 200 billion points of data. That's just on the transactional side. Just to give you a flavor of this, if I just take t-shirts as an example, you've got the different colors of t-shirts, the style, short, long, V-neck, round neck. You have the sizes, extra, extra large in my case, extra large, large, medium, small, petite, very small. That amount of data becomes a large. And then when it comes to the marketing and the communication side of that, when you overlay it, they both have the offline business and the online business. They have offline data, offline advertising, whether it be TV, press, radio. They have the digital side of it. So large amounts of information there that has to be reconciled with what they're doing in the marketplace. They also have the stores. Now the stores are incredibly complicated, whether the mannequins are in the store, advertising the product, in the windows. You've probably walked past some of the shops on the high street. You have all the promotions going on, the different types of mechanics, whether it's a 30% off or it's a multi-buy. You also may notice the different colours that are on the back walls, the drop-downs. These all influence sales. These all need to be taken into consideration. It's a large amount of data, so that means I can understand the complexity. I do agree with them. It is a very complex marketplace that requires a great deal of skill to analyse, to quantify, and to ultimately take that data and activate it in the marketplace. So Dorrit and I sat back and thought, is there an analogy, a metaphor, an analogy that we can take to the conference that explains the challenges that we've got? And we felt Concorde was a good example of this. We knew that when man had been put on the moon in 1969, we knew that we could fly, but there was great disbelief that man could not, or female I should say as well, fly across the Atlantic at supersonic speeds. And the supersonic speed is the dynamic of C&A. That is a very quick retail business. Well, the average life expectancy, the life cycle of a brand is 12 weeks to 26 weeks. It's that quick that actually the fashion from last year is not the fashion for this year. It's very, very dynamic. There was great disbelief that Concorde couldn't fly across the Atlantic, that it would run out of fuel, it would burn up, it's too noisy, the humans couldn't take the G-force. So it's, I believe, a good analogy. But what it allowed us to do is challenge the organisation. We needed to change the mental set of C&A. I say it is a family business. It has a specific way of talking, a specific way of looking at business. Unless you challenge that and hold people accountable, it doesn't matter how good your insights are, they will not be used. Which leads us on to the next point, that we need to build credibility and buy-in to the organisation. So how did we do that? Knowing that we had these challenges regarding the culture and how people think. So we started small with a prototype, just like when you're designing a plane with the wind tunnels. We selected the right data. We asked the people that own the data, how do they think about decision making? What data do they use? We then spoke about the methodologies and the processes that we can use to quantify the data and how it influences the business, and then how can they use it. So we created a prototype, took that to the board to get the credibility and the buy-in, and then from there it could be sense checked by themselves that it met their requirements and their needs, and then we could roll that out. So we're currently working in the German market, and we're rolling that out to 3 other markets across Europe for them. So it did take a long time. It took us 18 months to go from prototype right the way through to full market rollout. And coming back to the analogy, people will say, well, what actually happened with the Concorde? The average flight time for a normal plane going across the Atlantic is 6 to 8 hours. Concorde does it in about 3.5 hours. So if you're flying from London to New York, you actually get there before you took off, which is always a nice thing. And I know there are a number of engineers in the room here, because I've spoken to a few. They always go, how quick is the quickest speed across the Atlantic? And the example on the left and the right there is actually Concorde did it in less than 3 hours, and the quickest a 747 could do it was just over 5 hours. So it was achieved. What I'd like to do is also, just finally, over the last couple of slides, is just give you a flavour, an illustrated flavour of the deliverables that we provided with CNA that allow them to have a framework that they could then use to make better decisions. So from looking from the past to looking to the future and how they can be smarter. So this illustration is very much looking at the volume or sales decomposition over the last 3 years, where sales were coming from. From there, we could then calculate the efficiencies of the different marketing drivers from TV through to digital. Say this is illustrative examples here, so don't take it to heart. We could also, because it's a retail business where discounts are highly important to driving the business, we can also look at all the different effects across the marketing drivers, from windows through to TV, through to investment allocation. And in this case, it's the size of the prize. And this is what's put the ears up around the board member. How can we change our business? They recognise that they are in a very competitive marketplace, that they need to adapt now. There's competition there, there's on the online business, that they need to work harder. So this gives them the size of the prize. And moving through to the discount side of it, I said we could work out the efficiency. So very simple optimization, which they did not know. They did not know the efficiencies of the different discounts, which are the lower ones, which are the higher ones. And very quickly, because it is a retail business, with this piece of insight, literally 2 weeks after we presented it, they started to do test and control within the different stores in the German market to generate better efficiencies. And finally, I'd just like to, a couple of sort of takeaways that I'd like to share with you that may be helpful on the journey that you have. That I know we talk about data, but we have to bring it back to the culture and the context. It is king. Unless you challenge the organisations and you change that mentality within the boardroom, within the corridors, doesn't matter what you do, you have to talk to the customer. You start small and build out in a considered manner. We've worked with a number of customers who want to do everything very quickly and solve the world's problems. Start small when you've got big challenges. Understand the challenge. And I think my personal favourite is number 3 there, is relationships. It's not just about the data, it's the context. It's understanding how, if I was to give data to yourselves, you may visualise that data in a different way. You may use that different data in a different way. You need to understand the customer's needs, how they absorb data and how they want to use it, and then you start to talk that language. So Dorrit was very important there because, I say, she lives and breathes CNA, she knows how they talk, how they behave, the certain idiosyncrasies of the organisation and how we put that together. The other last 2 points there is make allowances for unexpected delays. The Donald Rumsfeld comment, the unknown unknowns. Data is not perfect. It does change. We make human errors. I mean, the digital world is always moving forward. The granularity, we've just spoken about data considerations now because of different legislation coming into place. That will change what metrics we can use. And the other thing is to think about the future. It will change. And that's me. Is that enough? Bang on 0. Thank you very much.
Work. It's working? Yes, it's working now. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was really interesting. Any questions from the audience? No questions? So I just have curiosity. How often do you do this exercise with CNA? Is every quarter,
every season actually?
Every season.
So they have 2 seasons a year: this winter season and the summer season. So we update it every season.
The data.
Yeah. But what we also do is because of the discounts can occur every 12 weeks when they're doing those, all campaign analysis. We do speed reads as well. So we will step in and say because the data, they own their own data. So you can get the data very quickly. You can see how the discounts performed and then help them optimize their discount plan and their promotional strategy.
Great.
It's a very dynamic industry they work in.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So no more questions from the audience? We don't have more time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.